For years, the world watched as Israel and Iran waged a covert struggle in the shadows, cyber attacks, sabotage, and proxy battles shaping the region's tense status quo. But in June 2025, that uneasy balance shattered. The simmering hostilities erupted into open warfare, marking a turning point that would redefine the Middle East for a generation. Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a meticulously planned and unprecedented air campaign. In a matter of hours, waves of Israeli fighter jets struck deep inside Iran, targeting nuclear enrichment facilities, missile bases, and the nerve centers of Iran's military command. The world watched in disbelief as live footage and satellite images revealed the scale of destruction. Tehran's response was swift and ferocious. Within hours, Iran unleashed a massive barrage of ballistic and cruise missiles, targeting major Israeli cities and military installations. Air raid sirens wailed across Tel Aviv and Haifa as explosions rocked urban centers, leaving civilians scrambling for shelter and entire neighborhoods in ruins. The shadow war had become a direct, high-stakes confrontation, with both sides suffering heavy losses. This sudden escalation shattered decades-old rules of engagement that had kept the conflict contained. The specter of a wider regional war loomed as neighboring countries braced for spillover violence and global powers rushed to assess their next moves. Military analysts warned that the fragile balance of power in the Middle East was now at risk of total collapse. The world's attention turned to the Strait of Hormuz, a vital artery for global oil supplies. Any disruption here could send shockwaves through international markets, triggering a global economic crisis. Oil prices spiked overnight, and stock exchanges from New York to Tokyo reeled as traders feared the worst. The interconnectedness of the modern world meant that the consequences of this conflict would be felt far beyond the region. Israel's strikes sent an unmistakable message: it would never accept a nuclear-armed Iran. By targeting top IRGC commanders and critical military infrastructure, Israel demonstrated both its reach and its resolve. The operation was as much a warning to Tehran as it was a signal to the world that Israel was prepared to act alone if necessary. Iran's retaliation was equally calculated. By inflicting significant damage on Israeli cities and military assets, Tehran showed it would defend its sovereignty at any cost. The message was clear: any attack on Iran would be met with overwhelming force, and the price of escalation would be high for all involved. Now, the precedent of direct state-on-state violence hangs over the region like a dark cloud. Every military maneuver, every political decision, carries the risk of triggering another round of devastating retaliation. The sense of uncertainty and fear is palpable, not just in Israel and Iran, but across the entire Middle East. As the international community scrambles to contain the crisis, world leaders gather for emergency summits, and diplomats work around the clock to broker a ceasefire. The stakes could not be higher. The fragile balance of power in the Middle East, and the stability of the global order, hangs in the balance, as the world holds its breath and waits for what comes next. Israel and Iran's militaries are a study in contrasts, a classic case of asymmetry. Israel boasts a technologically advanced, US-backed force built for rapid, precise strikes, relying on air superiority and intelligence. Its doctrine is preemptive and defensive, shaped by the need to neutralize threats before they reach its small territory. Iran, meanwhile, leverages strategic depth, a vast missile arsenal, and proxy networks to compensate for older conventional forces. The IRGC wields control over Iran's most potent weapons and foreign operations, enabling both direct and indirect challenges to its enemies. Iran's doctrine centers on deterrence through massive retaliation, aiming to make any attack unbearably costly for adversaries. This dynamic ensures that any conflict risks spiraling into a prolonged, bloody war with regional consequences. Israel's air force is its primary strategic advantage, anchored by F-35 Yadir stealth fighters capable of penetrating advanced air defenses. These jets, alongside upgraded F-15S and F-16S, enable deep, precise strikes far from Israeli borders. Israel's arsenal includes standoff weapons like the Delilah cruise missile, allowing safe, accurate attacks on high-value targets. Its dominance extends to drones, both for surveillance and precision strikes, making Israel a global leader in unmanned warfare. Reports of Israeli attack drone bases near Tehran, if true, mark a new level of operational reach. Iran's air force, reliant on aging jets, cannot match Israel's technology, so it invests heavily in mass-produced drones to overwhelm defenses. The air war is defined by Israel's precision, and Iran's attempts to counter with sheer numbers. Iran's missile arsenal, the largest and most diverse in the Middle East, stands as the backbone of its military deterrence strategy. With hundreds of launchers and thousands of missiles, Iran has invested heavily in developing a range of ballistic and cruise missiles capable of striking targets across the region, from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. This formidable arsenal is not just a show of strength, it's a message to adversaries that Iran can respond swiftly and forcefully to any threat. The June 2025 barrage was a dramatic demonstration of this capability. Iran launched hundreds of missiles in coordinated waves, utilizing mobile short-range Fateh 110S for rapid strikes, medium-range Shahab 3S for deeper targets, and advanced solid-fueled Sajal missiles for maximum reach and speed. These launches showcased not only Iran's technological advancements, but also its ability to overwhelm regional missile defenses through sheer volume and variety. In response, Israel relies on its own powerful missile arsenal. The Jericho series, especially the long-range Jericho III, forms the core of Israel's strategic deterrent. While details remain classified, the Jericho 3 is widely believed to be nuclear-capable, giving Israel a credible second strike capability and ensuring that any attack on its territory would be met with overwhelming force. Both nations also deploy advanced cruise missiles prized for their precision and ability to evade traditional missile defenses. These weapons can be launched from land, sea, or air, making them versatile tools for targeted strikes against high-value military and infrastructure targets, and further complicating the already complex defense calculations on both sides. The rapid proliferation of advanced missile technology on both sides has created a highly volatile environment. With so many missiles on high alert, the risk of miscalculation or accidental launch is ever present, raising the stakes for the entire region and making the prospect of escalation all too real. Israel's official missile policy remains deliberately ambiguous, but its second strike capability, bolstered by submarine-launched missiles and hardened silos, is widely assumed by analysts. This ambiguity is designed to deter adversaries by keeping them guessing about Israel's true capabilities and intentions. Iran's missile forces, tightly controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, provide Tehran with significant leverage. Not only do they threaten regional adversaries, but they also pose a direct challenge to U.S. military bases and assets stationed throughout the Middle East, giving Iran a powerful tool for both deterrence and coercion. As both sides continue to expand and modernize their arsenals, the missile duel has become a central, destabilizing feature of the conflict, one that threatens to draw in the entire region should tensions boil over. Israel's multi-layered air defense, Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow, forms one of the world's most advanced shields against rockets and missiles. Iron Dome intercepts short-range threats while David's Sling and Arrow systems target longer-range ballistic missiles, including those from Iran. During the recent attacks, these systems, aided by U.S. support, proved vital in blunting Iran's missile onslaught. Iran's air defenses, a mix of Russian S-300S and domestic systems like Bavar 373, lag behind in integration and effectiveness. Israeli strikes reportedly disabled key Iranian radars and launchers, highlighting the gap in air defense capabilities. While Israel's defenses are not impenetrable, they significantly reduce the threat of mass casualties. The air defense duel is a race between evolving missile threats and ever-advancing interception technology. The naval front is a critical, often overlooked dimension of the Israel-Iran conflict. While much of the world's attention is drawn to land and air operations, the vast expanse of the sea is where some of the most strategic maneuvering takes place. Control of the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf is not just about military might, it's about economic lifelines, energy security, and the ability to project power far beyond national borders. Israel's navy, though relatively small compared to regional powers, is highly advanced and laser-focused on safeguarding its vital sea lanes and offshore energy assets. These waters are the arteries through which Israel's economy flows, carrying everything from imported goods to the natural gas that powers its cities. The Navy's constant patrols and rapid response capabilities are essential for deterring threats and ensuring the uninterrupted flow of commerce. At the heart of Israel's maritime deterrence are its Dolphin-class submarines. These state-of-the-art vessels, widely believed to be capable of carrying nuclear-tipped cruise missiles, provide Israel with a survivable second strike capability. This means that even if Israel were attacked, it could still retaliate from beneath the waves, an insurance policy that underpins its national security doctrine and deters adversaries from contemplating existential threats. Iran's naval forces are divided into two distinct branches, each with its own strategy and area of operation. The regular Iranian Navy is tasked with projecting power into the open waters of the Arabian Sea and beyond, while the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy dominates the shallow, congested waters of the Persian Gulf. The IRGC's tactics rely on swarms of fast attack craft, mobile anti-ship missile launchers, and asymmetric warfare to offset Israel's technological edge. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point through which a significant portion of the world's oil supply passes, remains a perennial flashpoint. Iran has repeatedly threatened to close the strait in response to external pressure or conflict, a move that could send shockwaves through global energy markets and trigger a wider escalation. The mere possibility of such an action keeps navies on high alert and insurance rates for shipping sky high. Iranian tactics in these waters are designed to maximize disruption and uncertainty. The deployment of naval mines, hidden missile batteries along the coast, and the use of swarming speedboats create a constant threat to both commercial and military vessels. These asymmetric strategies force adversaries to remain vigilant and invest heavily in countermeasures, raising the stakes for any potential confrontation. Meanwhile, Israel's submarines operate with utmost secrecy, gliding silently beneath the surface. Their presence is rarely acknowledged but always felt. These vessels serve as a powerful reminder that any existential threat to Israel would be met with overwhelming and devastating retaliation, no matter where it originates. In this high-stakes maritime chess game, every move is calculated and every asset counts. The struggle for control over sea lanes and underwater domains adds yet another layer of complexity to an already volatile standoff, one where a single miscalculation could have global repercussions. Long before open conflict, Israel and Iran waged a relentless cyber war. Sabotage, espionage, and digital attacks shaping the battlefield. Israel's Unit 8,200 leads in offensive and defensive cyber operations, with the infamous Stuxnet attack as a prime example. Iran, learning from past breaches, has built formidable cyber capabilities, targeting infrastructure in Israel and beyond. In wartime, cyber and electronic warfare escalate, jamming communications, blinding radars, and disrupting missile guidance. Israeli electronic warfare was likely key in suppressing Iranian air defenses during Operation Rising Lion. The risk a major cyber attack on civilian infrastructure could trigger real-world military retaliation, blurring the line between digital and kinetic war. As both sides sharpen their digital arsenals, the threat of a devastating cyber-triggered escalation looms large. The specter of nuclear weapons overshadows the Israel-Iran conflict. Israel's undeclared but widely assumed nuclear arsenal underpins its security, with land, air, and sea-based delivery options ensuring second-strike capability. Iran's nuclear ambitions, officially for peaceful purposes, are viewed with deep suspicion by Israel and the West. Israeli intelligence claims Iran was close to weaponization, prompting the preemptive Operation Rising Lion to set back its program. The strikes targeted key nuclear sites, aiming to reset the clock and force a diplomatic solution. For Israel, a nuclear-armed Iran is an existential threat. For Iran, nuclear capability is a deterrent and a matter of sovereignty. This fundamental clash makes the conflict uniquely perilous and difficult to resolve. After the direct military exchange, global attention shifted to de-escalation and diplomacy. The conflict's economic and humanitarian fallout underscored the limits of military solutions. The U.S. called for renewed negotiations, signaling that diplomacy remains the only viable path to lasting stability. A new nuclear agreement, offering Iran relief and security in exchange for strict limits, could defuse the crisis, but mistrust runs deep. Success requires political will, compromise, and likely third-party mediation to bridge decades of hostility. The goal, a regional security framework that addresses both Israeli and Iranian concerns. The choice is stark: continue the cycle of violence, or invest in the hard work of peace. The world's leaders must learn from this near catastrophe and act before the next, potentially deadlier, round erupts.